dry, stringy, bland, tough. Does this describe your chicken breast? If so, I'm going to change that. I got 3 pro tips that's going to give you perfectly cooked, flavorful, and juicy chicken breast every single time. Plus, I'm going to be sharing a bonus 4th tip at the very end of this video. Now I've got these chicken breasts that I'm going to grill. Most chicken breasts have a thicker and a thinner edge. Why is this bad? It's going to cook unevenly. The thinner part will be very dry before the thicker end reaches a safe eating temperature. Our first tip is to flatten it out. The process is very easy. Get yourself a Ziploc bag, cut out the edges. You can actually reuse this bag if you wash it, especially if you hammer out a lot of meat. Place your chicken breast in between the bag and then flatten it out. The bag prevents any chicken juice squirting all over your kitchen. Give it nice hits, but not too hard or it's going to rip the bag. Take your time, but don't skip out on this step. You'll need to flatten out the thicker edges. Avoid the thinner edges because flattening out the thin edges even further, well, it's going to undo any flattening that you've done. It doesn't have to be perfect, but more even thickness is going to result in a better chicken breast. Chicken breast is one of the easiest proteins to mess up on the grill. It cooks fast, dries out even faster. And if you don't know the right techniques, you're going to be stuck eating chewy, overcooked chicken for life. Flattening is going to result in some even cooking, but that doesn't mean anything if it's bland. Chicken breast is lean. It lacks fat and flavor, so you're going to need to compensate the lack of fat with this next tip. The second tip for the day is to brine your chicken breast or marinate it. The lack of fat requires you to pack in some flavor, and it's going to make it very juicy. I'm going to give it a nice layer of Lorry's seasoning before placing it in the bag. I'm a fan of marinating. I'll be marinating this chicken breast with some Italian dressing. This is the world's easiest marinade if you already have it in your fridge. Not only easy, but it's got great flavor. I first learned about this back in college, and I've been a fan ever since. Let's seal up and remove as much of the air as you can. And let's place in the bag in the fridge and let it marinate for a few hours. Ideally overnight. To compare, I'm going to do a quick wet brine. Brining enhances moisture, tenderness, and adds some flavor. I did a simple brine here with a 5% salt and added some brown sugar. Now, how do you get 5% salt brine? It's simple with the metric system. For 1 liter of water, use 50 grams of salt. I'm also adding around the same amount of brown sugar. The sugar doesn't have to be exact. This is why I didn't weigh it. Add your salt, add your sugar, and be sure to give it a good mix so it dissolves. Now, what you put in your own brine is pretty limitless. Experiment with different juices, different spices, and different herbs. Same deal as before, brine for a few hours. I'm going to go with 5 hours. Here are the chicken breasts. We'll remove the first 2 from the brine, and then the last 2 from the Italian dressing marinade. Let's pat dry. Before we season, I'm going to be rubbing some mayo on them. I picked up this tip from Chef Kenji. Rubbing it in mayo improves browning due to its fat content, and it aids with the Maillard reaction. It sounds and looks weird, right? But there isn't any strange aftertaste. So I'm on board. Once slightly coated, drop in some pepper, garlic. Do the same for the other side. Mayo, pepper, garlic, and a little paprika for a little color. It's messy, no doubt, hence why I like using a glove and then using my clean hand for seasoning. They don't need to chill here for very long. Just get out there and get your grill ready. I've lit about a half a basket of charcoal, and I'm going to spread around. Be sure to oil your grates and then get them nice and hot. Let's place in our first 2 chicken breasts. Giving it 2 minutes and then rotating slightly. Then we flip. Ooh, nice color here. It might have gone a few seconds too long, but I'm going to compensate with the next 2. One thing I forgot to mention is don't flip until the chicken no longer sticks to the grate. If it's hard to rotate or flip, then leave it on for a few more seconds. The hot grate is going to release the meat nicely, and there shouldn't be any meat on your grate or any tearing. Otherwise, you flip way too soon. Now these aren't done yet, but let's put these in the indirect side and then get our next 2 breasts cooking. Same as before, slightly rotate after 1 minute this time. And then flip after 2 minutes. Not as much char on these two. Now, which ones look better to you? Let's put these on the indirect side as well, and let's cover. The last tip is not to overcook it. Remove once the chicken breast has reached 155 internal temperature. With the carryover heat, it's going to get closer to 165. The first two chicken breasts have reached 155 internal temperature, so let's remove. A few minutes later, the next two have reached 155. Let's also remove and let them rest for a few minutes. While it's resting, let's give our grates a quick scrub. This ensures nothing gets stuck on it, and we're ready for the next cook. After the chicken breasts have rested, let's slice into them. And now let's taste. Taste test, first one. That was good. That was the brine method for sure. Very juicy, very flavorful. Let's try the marinated one. That is really, really good. That's probably my favorite. Okay, the marinated one is a lot more juicier, a lot more flavorful. Marinade is always a winner. With these 3 pro tips, you're never gonna struggle with dried chicken ever again. But I'm gonna give you one more tip. If you really wanna take the flavor to the next level, try this. Brine your chicken in beer. Yep, beer. It adds a depth of incredible flavor. And in my next video, I'm gonna brine an entire chicken in beer and find out why it's so good.